working on it for the last 3 to 4 weeks. Today was the day. We finally had the opportunity to get it out here. Didn't have too bad weather, it wasn't raining, so and it went relatively smoothly. I think just due to the fact that the size of it alone was fairly unique. It's an unusual size. The weight of it, all those things required us to do several things that we normally don't do, which is to do some practice runs to make sure that we, by the time that we got here, we were well rehearsed and we knew what the plan was going to be. And of course, moving something like that required, making sure that the equipment was up to task to pick up something of that weight. And then, of course, considering that it's not a standard monument, there was some abnormalities there as far as making sure it could go straight up, it could set down, but all in all, I mean, everything went as I had planned. Gaydos Monument Company does work with Homewood Cemetery on some older projects that over time we decided that we want to go ahead and try to restore some of these things. The cross is one of them. And Mr. Hodes contacted us about 1.5 years ago. I met with him and we took a look at the site to see what it was that we had there. And at that point is when you have to begin trying to figure out how you're going to get a job like this out of the cemetery, what it is that the cemetery or the client, what is it that they want to see, to what extent restoration are they looking for, and how you're going to go about making the whole job happen.
What I've been able to determine about the cross is that it was installed in or around 1915. We can't determine exactly when it fell over. We think that it was around 1995, 96, there was a microburst that took some trees out, and the trees fell and took down some of the larger monuments. And we're fairly certain that this cross fell about 15 years ago. But we talked with Mike. He has the experience to work on this type of a project. It's very intricate work. It's time-consuming to put it back together, and it's certainly an art form. A lot of the work that's done in forming the lilies and forming the epoxies and filling in the holes, it's again a very time-consuming and takes a specialist to be able to do that.
This is just stain that has now worked its way so far into the stone that the only way you can really get this out of here is to recreate this surface, which is called steeling. When we got to the site, or laying around the cross were various pieces that had broken off of either the base, which is a 3-tiered base, or the cross. The most significant piece was this, which was laying maybe about 2 feet from the cross. And part of the process will involve this thing not only fitting in there like this, but then being epoxied and then trying to blend in where this crack is so that it looks like it was never broken.
Yeah.
A little more.
I use it at home all the time.
There you go.
You think? Better be right.
You get a bad eye in the morning.
The rods were necessary because the cross originally, when it was cut, they had cut the block, they had cut the bottom of the cross so that the cross came down, and what you see as the bottom was actually not the bottom. There was actually a piece that then went down below that acted as a notch. The third base that we had put in had a hole cut in it that was identical in size to the notch that was underneath the cross. Originally, that was the plan, to insert that into that notch, and then some glue that they had used at the time to adhere those two pieces together. When the tree fell down, it hit the cross, and ultimately it snapped that notch. So the notch proved to not be as effective as maybe they originally thought. However, it's hard to say how many other memorials were probably done like that. Probably 90% of them that were done prior to maybe 1920 and 1925. So today, in lieu of that, since we can't recreate the notch, we put holes in there, 1-inch diameter holes, and we use 3/4-inch stainless steel rod that went through not only the top of the cross, but then also into the third base. That, in combination with an epoxy made specifically for memorials, will will allow that thing to adhere properly. Since it's cold today, any monument really, when you're setting in colder weather, the product that they use around the end, it's almost like best described as almost like a Play-Doh. That will, in the summertime, will squeeze out a little bit more as the weight of it. But really, within the next 48 hours is probably when the epoxy will cure to the point where the memorial will be stable.